All right, top news stories of the day. We're going to start off with, obviously, new details emerge on the school shooting in Georgia. 2 students and 2 teachers were killed in a high school shooting in Georgia. School is back, and maybe some of you just found out in the most American way possible by yet another gruesome, horrific school shooting. Classic. How could this have happened, we say, in a country where it happens all the time?
And that's where we're going to begin, with a lot of hurting hearts and a lot of hate in this country. It's happened again in another American community reeling from deadly gun violence. Here's what we know so far. It happened at Apalachee High School, that's in Barrow County, Georgia, about 45 miles east of Atlanta. Investigators say that a student opened fire, killing 2 other students, both of them just 14 years old, and 2 teachers. The weapon was an AR-style rifle. 9 others have been hurt, and the alleged killer is also 14 years old. His name, we're told, is Colin Gray, and he is now in custody. He has been charged with murder, and prosecutors say that he will be tried as an adult.
This is the deadliest school shooting in Georgia's history. 14-year-old Marquez Coleman saw the shooter open fire.
I'm sitting like this, and the door is like this. So something just told me to look to my left. I look to my left. I see a kid with he had like a big gun. It was like an AR. With he got his head sticking out the door with the gun. And then he just started. Then I got up. I started running. He started shooting like 10 times. He shot at least 10 times. And then I ran to the back of the classroom. I dived behind the desk, and my teacher had got in front of me like he was guarding. But like the gunshots were so close to me, like my ears started ringing real bad. Like the whole classroom was smoking, like, and everything. And then when he finally got out of the classroom, my teacher started barricading the door with desks and bookshelves and all that. And then I had got up. When I had got up, I had saw one of my classmates on the ground bleeding so bad.
Marquez's father said his son called him during the shooting screaming and crying. Later, he found a bullet hole in a laptop marked by a bullet in his son's backpack. Mark Strassman is in Barrow County, Georgia with the latest. Mark, good morning.
This chatter is correct. Chatters, they're trying him as an adult specifically because they want to use capital punishment to make an example. Now, there's a couple different perspectives here. One, in the state of Georgia, there are certain crimes that you can be charged as an adult as, even if you're a minor when you commit them. Obviously, killing 4 people would be one of those crimes. Having said that, however, capital punishment obviously is a punishment for a crime such as this one for adults in the state of Georgia, despite the fact that it is declared unconstitutional for, I believe, minors to be subjected to adult punishments in general. Specifically, I think capital, specifically the death penalty. Now, having said that, it will be a wonderful new Supreme Court cycle where they will make that, permissible eventually. So that'll be cool. Because in the United States of America, we don't necessarily understand that, like, we and our culture, in terms of like how quickly we go, oh, we should kill this person, we should kill this 14-year-old, is probably playing a role in having more 14-year-olds just like that shooter develop in this incredibly violent culture. But that's neither here nor there. It's additionally insane to have this conversation because the reason why you do the death penalty, like the arguments for the death penalty, which I am against, by the way, unconditionally, is it's a deterrence, except the overwhelming majority of mass shootings already end with the death penalty right there, because most of those people either want to die with a suicide by cop or just kill themselves after they're done killing a bunch of people. So, kind of a stupid deterrence. It's not a deterrence at all. It's just pure, I'm seeing red. I want to act like I'm doing something. I'm satiating the masses that have a thirst for blood. I'm quenching their thirst by killing this 14-year-old, that is now in the custody of the state. That's basically it. A lot of people forget that the criminal justice system is not there for like immediate vengeance. It's there so that we have rules, regulations, restrictions, punishments, with the overarching goal of ensuring that people just don't do violent crimes. either by way of deterrence or by way of rehabilitation. And we've completely lost sight of that. I think the average American genuinely, I think about this a lot. The average American, I think, genuinely looks at the criminal justice system as like a vehicle to do harm to people who have done harm to others. And that's literally not the point. Like, that's not the point at all. That has never been the point. We are not medieval peasants, okay? What the are you thinking? What are you saying? And yet it is such a commonly held belief, commonly held attitude, even in a very progressive community such as this one. It's actually one of those issues. It's actually one of those issues that I talk about quite a bit, because I'm obviously in favor of prisoners having more rights, more liberties, and our criminal justice system completely being revamped to focus on rehabilitation rather than incarceration in an effort to reduce recidivism in this country, which are pretty high. But whenever this conversation comes up, and it doesn't have to come up in the midst of like a very obviously emotional mass shooting that happens all the time, right? Even if I'm talking about it offhanded, just generally talking about like the horrifying conditions in our prisons or whatever, people literally will come in and be like, what if a super serial rapist pedophile, killed your mom and then your entire family, like what then? And it's like, this does not change the analysis. Like, in that immediate moment, your retaliation and the things that you want to do to this horrifying murderer does not change the reality that, like, that's not how the criminal justice system is supposed to work. That's why you're not the judge, okay? There is an supposedly impartial third party that is supposed to be looking at the situation and analyzing it evenly. That's why you're not sitting on the jury, dumbass, And thank God for that, because a lot of people get falsely implicated in crimes and shit. And you don't want people that are falsely implicated in crimes to go to prison permanently or even killed. That's the whole point. It's like, oh, what if your mother was killed? What would you want in that situation? It's like, yeah, I know. I would probably also be emotional in that circumstance, but that's precisely why you're not the jury, nor the executioner, nor the judge. 40-month sub, gun reform killed a child. It's case by case. No, the kid is not going to be implicated, playing devil's advocate. What's crazy about it is that in terms of this story, there are a lot of parties that are responsible for this death and destruction. Obviously, first and foremost, the 14-year-old, but that's still a minor. That's like barely a sentient being. That is a baby. Do you understand? So we have to immediately look at the situation and go, how the did a 14-year-old get to this goddamn point? Okay, there's a reason why we analyze minors and adults differently. Because if you have this energy for a 14-year-old, okay, what's going to happen when you got a 10-year-old that does this shit next time? You know what I mean? And by the way, that is a thing that has happened before in the United States of America. I forget how old the youngest school shooter is, but I think it was like literally a kindergartner before who like tried to shoot her teacher. Luckily, he failed. Or was it a 6-year-old? Yeah, it was something like that. It was like something insane, which is the most American story of all time. So using the capital punishment as a deterrence strategy in this conversation is additionally stupid, because like that's not how mass shooters work. You know what I mean? Mass shooters more often than not have no care or consideration for their lives. You understand? So you're not even doing deterrence in this situation. You're not even like technically pointing to like a theoretical deterrence. It's pretty crazy. The kid's parents should be held responsible, and they most likely will be. There are, because in the United States of America, this is such a commonplace thing that we have like other instances, other incidents, other mass shootings we can draw from. There is already a legal precedent. This happened, I believe either last year or like 2 years ago. I can't remember exactly when it happened. God damn, it happens so much. What about a maniac, genocidal mass murder like Netanyahu, rehab or capital punishment? What about medical experimentation as a punishment? Dude, again, you're talking about vengeance and not justice, okay? Talking about vengeance and not justice. And it's also stupid to have this conversation about fucking war criminals who are literally at the top of entire countries engaging in genocide. They have an entirely separate set of motivations at that point, okay? They're not even human. I'm not going to entertain this conversation right now. I'm having a normal conversation about like how criminal justice is supposed to work. And yeah, Puyi is a good answer for the Netanyahu answer, obviously, but that's besides the point. Have him rehabilitate, have him come out of that a new man, you know? Yeah, James Crumbly and Michigan school shooter's parents sentenced to 10 years in prison for not stopping a runaway train. Yeah, This was the first ever parents convicted in a U.S. mass school shooting, and they were sentenced to at least 10 years in prison Tuesday as a Michigan judge lamented missed opportunities that could have prevented their teenage son from possessing a gun and killing 4 students in 2021. The mass shooting happened in 2021. The court case obviously continued well into 2024, and the conviction came a couple months ago. So there's a couple things that I want to talk about here with respect to like the additional details and the FBI's involvement, which are I mean, it's crazy. What is this? Then why did you stream yourself shooting automatic weapons for content? Because I like shooting guns, but I'm not a dumbass who thinks that we shouldn't have any restrictions whatsoever. We should have all of the restrictions. I do not necessarily have an issue with shooting guns in general, but I also understand what guns are for. Guns are for killing. That's it. That's the one purpose of a weapon. You can't use it for anything else. You can't use it and cook your food. You can't use it for travel, transportation. There's no other utility for a gun. It's just, a lethal machine, a machine of murder. And hunting is still lethal, okay? You're proving the point that I'm making. You can't use a gun as a paperweight, and therefore, if that is the case, then we should probably have severe restrictions on who can get it, how they can get it, and ensure that it's not as simple as just walking into a goddamn Walmart and then being able to open carry it out of there. Do you understand? Yes, I understand your point. Yeah, but you still wanted to talk shit because I shot weapons and will continue to shoot weapons for content in the future because you're a goddamn liberal who cares about the optics more than the actual words that are coming out of my mouth when serious people are having serious conversations about serious issues. I get it too. Don't worry. You're a concerned trolling radlib in the chat who's like, well, how can you have any opinions on gun control when I've seen you shoot guns? I just learned that as of 2022, our civilian gun ownership rates are the highest in the world, higher than places like Serbia and Yemen. Yes, Yemen is the number 2. You're missing an important function of guns. Bud Light cans aren't going to blast themselves. Listen, until a gun like this one can serve a 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour, I will forever tell you that the only purpose for these things is murder. So you advocating for eliminating any elements of retribution and justice? I mean, that's like the entire point of delegating punishment to the state. Like everyone want to make their matter in their own hands, but that will just cause chaos for society. So the government inherits the responsibility. I believe that rehabilitation and retribution can go hand in hand. No, dude, it's not retribution. What the are you talking about? That is not justice at all. The do you mean retribution? Who the are you? Are you an anime villain? What do you mean? This is villain speak, dog. Like every popular media that uses that terminology is usually a villain. You understand that, right? Retribution. Like, shut the up. That's not the purpose of the criminal justice system, dumbass. Also, I never said shit is sweet. It's not like restricting someone's freedoms is going to be a fun process. Try it out. Let me lock you in a cage for an extended period of time and tell you when to wake up and when to go to sleep and what you can and can't do, that you can't see your loved ones, and then you can tell me if that's not like punishment. Of course, prison isn't sweet anyway. The problem is the way we analyze it is retribution because you're an American and every American has that Sephiroth in their minds. You know what I mean? Jesus Christ. What's your take on guns don't kill people? People kill people? Yeah, people do kill people. It's just guns make it a lot easier to kill a lot of people, especially assault weapons. And yes, that is a distinction. Okay. Before people go, actually, how could you make those restrictions? It's like, you can. Okay. We have. And, the AR platform in general straight up is designed to more efficiently murder a bunch of people. Very little recoil. A kid can fucking use it. Okay. Straight up. Especially if you have optics on that bad boy, dude. The entire purpose of that is to murk as many people as possible without having to reload quickly. Research shows more guns equals more death. Therefore, if you can isolate the variable and the variable results in more death, then it's the guns doing it, not the people. Yes. Do you think California's assault weapons classifications are valid? I think half of the items on that list are pointless. Yeah, there's a lot of stupid loophole laws. There's a lot of patchwork laws that they have in the state of California. You can't have a pistol grip on an AR style weapon. Okay, you can't have a pistol grip on it. It's annoying. All right, the real problems, in my opinion, come from giving anyone and everyone a gun. There are reasonable, common sense gun safety measures that other countries where there are guns that people can go out and purchase that need to be implemented here. You need to get a psychiatric evaluation before you get a gun. You need to have multiple people offer like a personality witness or whatever the fuck it's called before you should be able to get a gun. Okay, and those people could be held legally liable if you do something crazy with that gun. We have the absolute dumbest gun laws. We have no gun laws at all. Dog, we have, I think this was in Georgia, actually, but we literally have ammunition automatic vending machines. There was a company that was trying to do a startup for ammo vending machines, man. What the are you talking about, dude? Texas. Yeah. Character witness is the term I was forgetting. How about no guns at all, Hasan? I mean, look, I think that is utopian. I agree with it. A disarmed society is a significantly better society than an armed one. Abso-fucking-lutely. Look at Japan. Perfect example. It's just that in the United States of America, when there are currently more guns in circulation than there are people, that is impossible. Especially because we have to absolutely take baby steps. God, I love how a leftist that preaches material analysis can't imagine why disarming a populace may not be the best idea, or how we can make strides in reducing violence without taking away the best tool to ward off oppressors. Not even mentioning the fact that gun control isn't even a thing anymore. Anyone with an internet connection, a 3D printer, and access to a hardware store can make a gun anywhere in the world. You're right, brother. You're absolutely right. Hey, also, I don't know if you've noticed this, but like we're a genocidal state currently engaging in a genocide. We are a fascist state already by your metric. I haven't really seen the well-armed society actually rise up against their masters in any meaningful capacity. So perhaps it has nothing to do with that at all. Maybe you should go take a shower, sister. Sorry. Goddamn anarchist, dude. Fantasizing about a revolution that will come. A friend of mine invented a magazine attachment for ARs that fit a loophole in California's AR laws. After he killed himself with a pistol, the NRA paid for his wife's lawyers to get back the guns that were seized. Hard to literally fight against guns. That's awesome. I think Jace Orange Tail took the political power comes out of the barrel of a gun bit too literally. I know. Anyway, it's such a stupid conversation to be had, dude. It's also funny because like it's completely made up. It is completely like a relatively new way of thinking in terms of how guns should be calculated. And the materialist analysis in this circumstance is actually that guns are a commodity that American manufacturers produce, and therefore Americans that have nothing else, no sense of community, no sense of purpose in their lives, and are heavily alienated, actually associate themselves with commodities. It is the only formative cultural signifier that you can point to. And guns is heavily associated. The Second Amendment, and rather the modern interpretation of the Second Amendment, is a way that they've sold it to the public. This is how you become an American, baby. You take a gun and you shoot it. You shoot the gun. Just aim the barrel downrange. And so it's always really funny whenever like leftists and anarchists and shit come in here and they start chirping at me about like the proletariat revolution will occur inevitably with the guns that we have acquired. You know, revolution happens at the barrel of a gun or whatever the yeah, you're right. That's what's crazy, by the way, is that like the interpretation of the Second Amendment is unironically a relatively new phenomenon in the history of the United States. And it was conducted by material interests at play. Gun manufacturers created a gun lobby. They actually heavily lobbied the government to ensure that you could have a steady flow of weapons that people could purchase. Post-Vietnam, there was a lot of surplus of military gear, specifically military rifles. What did you do with that surplus? You either got to sell it to other countries, which we do, right? Or you sell it to the American people. The beauty of the AR platform is that it also is so customizable that it creates entire cottage industries on top of that. You got the optics, you got the handles, you got different stocks that you can use. That's why it was the single most profitable. It's the F-150 of weapons. AR-15 is Legos for adults. It straight up is. It's all money, okay? It's moneyed interests. But you will never understand that until you live in the United States of America, okay? And as someone who didn't originally grow up here, when I first came to America, I couldn't understand it either. I was shocked. And in my effort to better understand gun culture, as I was covering it quite a bit, quite extensively, I learned about it. I shot guns and I enjoyed it. This has not changed my opinion on gun control even a little bit. If anything, it has solidified my opinion on the necessity for common sense gun violence prevention measures in this goddamn country. It is insane. And you have to be a complete dumbass to not recognize that. You have been duped by larger powers at play here. Companies that have an interest in maintaining the current way of the current order of society so that they can keep selling you weapons, toys. The funniest part about gun safety is, you know who knows gun safety better than anyone else? The hogs at the goddamn shooting range. Because when you're interacting with someone who is uninitiated with guns, you have to be extra careful. You have to be extra careful because you give a pussy ass libtard a weapon and you stand next to them. If they accidentally turn around with the weapon in their hands, all of a sudden you can get killed. You understand? Why are they so careful and considerate when they're at the range? But that consideration and carefulness does not carry on beyond the range. Why does that not extend beyond the gun range? They consider it a personal responsibility. I don't agree, just saying. Yeah, that's not what laws are written for, though. Laws are written for the stupidest person in mind. That's the entire purpose. Just because you're safe doesn't mean other people are going to be, which is why you have to have some rules. These are preventative measures that look, let me tell you something. One aspect of gun culture being so broken in the United States of America is the cops. Every other country on the planet, cops are literally at the forefront of restricting weapons, okay? They are always the ones advocating to restrict more weapons, sometimes to an insane degree, as a matter of fact. Cops in America, though, they're such hogs that they're like, hell yeah, brother, Second Amendment all the way. It's like, hey, dumbass, it's making your job harder. It's so dumb. And before you say, Hasan, you want cops to be the only people with weapons? No, I want to demilitarize the police as well. You cannot have gun control without also demilitarizing the police. The American police force is insanely gunned up. Like the average cop that pulls you over shouldn't have a goddamn arsenal in their tank. Because when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Oh, by the way, after Uvalde, this is what Georgia's Governor Brian Kemp did, signing a bill allowing guns to be carried without a license. Hell yeah, brother. Thank you so much. My goat. But yeah, let's get back to this story.
Good morning, Nate. The FBI now says that local deputies questioned the suspect and his father last year. The reason at the time, online threats to carry out a school shooting by the suspect, who was 13 years old at the time. But the father told deputies that his son had no access to guns in the house. The suspect denied making those threats at the time, and so there were no arrests until yesterday. First responders rushed to Apalachee High School around 10:20 Wednesday morning after getting reports of an active shooter. Investigators say 2 school resource officers quickly encountered a 14-year-old student with an AR platform-style weapon inside the school. They say he quickly surrendered.
By the way, you want to know something so evil about this shit? Here's a fun little fact. It's not so fun. It's pretty grim, but, you know, I'll say fun regardless. You know when the highest point of gun sales actually is? Democratic leadership after a school shooting. Gun sales go up. People go out right after a mass shooting and purchase the weapons. So even this kind of coverage where they single out the AR platform, right? That actually plays well. That actually plays to the interest of the NRA. Now, let me explain something about the NRA to you, by the way, before we continue on with this story. If gun-free zones did not work, why don't the Republicans at the RNC allow everyone to open carry? Why doesn't the NRA, when they do their conventions, allow people to open carry? I don't get it. It seems so strange to me that these guys say guns make people more safe, and yet the least safe place on the planet is the NRA convention. Fascinating stuff. I wonder how, and I wonder why. The least safe place by the NRA's metric of safety is an NRA convention because ain't nobody's got guns. Ain't nobody got guns there. Woke as hell. Why are Americans so infatuated with firearms? We're infatuated with things that we consume. Guns are a commodity. It is one of the only things you have, you know? It's no different than a Funko Pop. It's no different than like a handbag. You know what I mean? It comes with a sense of a community, a shared purpose, purpose, shared goals, a commodity that you're consuming. There's like a culture surrounding it. That's it. We fetishize guns just like any other goddamn commodity. We make fun of, oh, the girlies and their Stanley cups and their, you know, handbags that are $3,000. And then you go and you buy a $3,000 gun with all the motherfucking kit with all of the different parts associated with it. Lacey ex Obama. Yeah, I don't believe this is going to be probably an Obama impersonator, but that's funny. Not gonna lie, you guys are kind of weird. I know, dude. I know.
Shooting began, they interacted with the shooter, and as soon as they made contact with him, he gave up immediately.
The sheriff credits a fast response to school faculty. They alerted law enforcement to an active situation using a button on ID cards, a new system he said had been in use for only about a week.
The heroes that we need to remember is our faculty and staff here at this school.
Did this guy get shot in the ear too? This guy's ear is more shot than Donald Trump's ear, bro. What the happened? He's got like a hole up there. Probably skin cancer. Yeah, maybe.
Acted admirably. The protocols at this school and this system activated, prevented this from being a much larger tragedy.
Yeah, he got, bro, he got his shit busted at Claire's, dude. That's what happens. That's what happens when you get when you get your ears pierced at Claire's, dog. Up. Never again, folks. Listen, I went there. I wanted to look cool. Got my shit pierced. Me right up at the piercing pagoda.
Than what we had here today.
Investigators say the shooter killed 4 people, including 2 students, 14-year-old Christian Angulo and Mason Schermerhorn, and 2 teachers, 39-year-old Richard Aspinwall and 53-year-old Christina Ermey. 8 other students and 1 teacher were taken to hospitals with gunshot wounds and other injuries and are expected to survive.
What was going through your mind?
I was scared because I didn't know if my mom was informed. I was crying. I was scared I was going to die.
Melanie Alvarez says she hurried from the bathroom to her classroom when a school alarm went off.
You really thought this could be it?
Yeah, because we heard banging the first time, and then we heard somebody yell, get down to somebody outside of the hall, but we didn't know who it was.
Single file line down this aisle right here after this deputy.
After catching the suspect, police say they went class by class.
We got a whole school to get evacuated.
Evacuating the roughly 1,900 students to the football field to reunite with their parents.
Could have been me.
Freshman Ariana Carter said police escorted her down a hallway where shots had been fired.
We, of course, see like the blood and stuff from them, and they have it like dusted off, so like it's kind of covered, but not really. There's a shoe that was bloody on it.
Love will prevail over what happened today.
Wednesday night, hundreds came together for a vigil.
I just felt like I needed to be here.
Samantha Huff graduated from Apalachee High School 2 years ago, but came home to Winder after hearing about the shooting.
You just have the sense that many people here are just shattered.
It's quite literally shattered. Like, it's just, I don't even think I fully comprehended it. It's just like thinking about it, it's just never going to be the same again. Like, our little small town is always going to have this hurt in our heart because of this.
Suspect Colin Gray is being held at a regional youth detention facility. The sheriff says he is cooperating, but so far the motive remains unclear. Gail, so sad.
It's beyond sad. I can't wait to hear what he says. Nothing he says will make this all right, but I hope we can get some insight into his thinking. A short time ago, we spoke to another student. His name is Isaac Sanguma. He was walking back to his class at the time of the shooting. Isaac, thank you so much for joining us. First, let me say I'm so sorry that this has happened yet again in this country. I'm so sorry that we have to talk to you under these circumstances. You know, when
the school received a phone threat earlier that morning, multiple law enforcement officials told CNN. Yeah, that's the other part of the story that I don't understand, where it's like, I feel like these guys in law enforcement, they just, I don't know what it is, but they just get off on it, you know? It does unironically seem like law enforcement loves being like, yeah, dude, we actually do suck. Like, we do. We suck so bad. We are the absolute worst. Like, nobody was pointing the finger of blame at law enforcement until law enforcement comes out out and is like, no, dude, the FBI's like, he was on our radar. And then local cops are like, oh, they told us actually. He told us ahead of time how he was going to do the shooting. Now, obviously, they wanted to keep his record clean so we could apply to the academy. Yeah. It feels like the media really trying to spin like the auto locking doors, ID card alarms, police response being fast, etc., as though it was a success. And then you remember 4 people got killed, kind of crazy, no? Yeah, no, it is spin. It's the spin factory for sure. Like last year, they would make fun of those protocols. Now those protocols are implemented, so they have to be like, see, those protocols actually work. It could have been much worse. It's like, bro, 4 people died. Like, what do you mean? 8 people were wounded, you know? 9 people were shot, 4 are dead. The do you mean? How is that a W? We're 2 days into the school year, man. We're 2 days into the goddamn semester, man. What the year over year, every single day, when conditions worsen, these guys basically match the energy where they're like, well, it could have been even worse. It's just like this incredibly defeatist mentality. We do not dare to dream of a better future any longer. We're done. We're done with that shit, okay?
The story broke yesterday. It was tough to hear. Once again, here we go. I can't imagine what it was like for you who was there at the time. Describe for us, if you will, where you were, what you heard, and what you saw.
So basically, it was like around 10:20, and
I hate to be a hysterical weirdo on this one, but when I see 14-year-olds with access to AR-15s, I tend to think the parents should be charged as well. No, you're not hysterical for that. What are you talking about? The kid's 14. Of course the parents should be charged. Are you kidding me? Absolutely. What do you mean? It's a minor. That is not a hot take. It is the coldest take.
I asked my teacher to go use the restroom, and I was going to the restroom. I went to go see AP. So I went to go see an AP, and she said she was dealing with something very important. So as I'm walking around, I go to the atrium, and I see 3 cops. And as I'm walking by, I'm walking back. I go to the restroom, and I don't know. I think I heard like a boom, boom, but at first it wasn't like a gunshot. Like it didn't come to my mind as it was a gunshot. My instincts was just to run back to class. Plus I seen like red sirens, red lights in the ceiling and stuff like that. So I just ran back to class, and I seen my teacher and other teachers getting their students that were drinking water and in the bathroom, getting their kids to get in the classroom. And it didn't feel real.
You know, so we have heard that we have lost 2 teachers and 2 students. Did you know any of the people who were no longer with us?
Yes, one of the teachers was my algebra teacher. She was my 4th period teacher. That same morning, she walked up to me, and I had threw up yesterday, so she asked me if I was okay. And she was asking me to come to class on time because, you know, my class is like right across the whole school, so I'd be coming to class late. She was begging me to come to class on time today. And I didn't know that was gonna be my last time seeing her and talking to her.
I know, Isaac. So how are you processing this?
It don't feel real. I just can't believe my teacher, somebody that I see every day. You know, it just don't feel real.
Before you go, Isaac, tell us what she was like. What was her name? What was she like?
Miss Army, Miss Army, when I first came into class, Miss Army, she be telling corny jokes. And at the time, it's just like, you know, when you're a student, you're just like, what is she talking about? But now it's just like, dang, like, you know. And Miss Army, she was real nice. I'm not gonna lie, my freshman year, I didn't pass algebra, so I'm retaking algebra my junior year. And she never made me feel ashamed about it. She never made me feel dumb. You could get a question wrong on the board, and she's not gonna make you feel dumb. She really make you, you know, she'll make you feel welcome. And all she do is just tell random jokes, and, you know, she really make you feel welcome, and she'll help you out. I'm not really good at math, but I just got the understanding of math just this year, being 3 weeks of school.
Some of the most underfunded workers in American society who straight up do not do this to get a bag or anything like that. Public school teachers, we are gutting their labor protections in the form of teachers unions. We're consistently underfunding them. Every single teacher in this goddamn country, especially public school teachers, are literally just doing it because they love the next generation. They want to help the next generation. I know that, like, if you're a child, when you're going to school, you're like, well, I got some good teachers, I got some bad teachers. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. Every single one of them is not doing this because they want to make the bag. They're doing this because they care. And then they're destined with this fate. It's incredible stuff. It's just so, we are such a cruel goddamn country, dude. So vile, so seeped in ignorance, constantly in a death spiral.
Isaac,
really
I know
nice.
this. I know this. You will never forget Miss Ermy. You will never forget the day yesterday. I'm glad you're okay. I think you still have a lot of processing to do. I'm very sorry this has happened to you. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Not only that, but also in the state of Georgia, apparently since 2014, they've had like a arming the teachers process, according to Libs of TikTok. Here it is. A Georgia lawmaker proposes paying teachers $10K to carry guns in school. A proposal at the State House would pay teachers to carry guns in school. Supporters say it'll make classrooms safer. However, critics worry it could make tense situations even more dangerous. State Senator Clint Dixon from Beaufort introduced a bill that would offer teachers a stipend of $10,000 a year. How about you give them $10,000 extra a year regardless? Nope. We can only do that if you carry and you train. This right here, this title right here is a perfect demonstration of how unimaginably our priorities are. Like, think about that, dude. Teachers are some of the most underpaid, underserved, especially public school teachers, are some of the most underpaid people, underpaid workers in this goddamn country. They have to pay out of pocket for school supplies. Okay. They do not even get reimbursements for that shit. And these red states that are some of the worst states for, in terms of like removing any kind of labor protections that they might have, that also have a bunch of psychopaths calling them like groomer pedophiles and whatnot on a regular basis. The only time they got money in the banana stand for the teachers is if they carry, which of course is going to only worsen the problem. If you have a gun in your house, the likelihood that you will have an accident obviously is infinitely higher versus not having a gun in the house. Whether it be your child shooting you in the leg, shooting you in the head and killing you, whether it be you actually accidentally firing the gun and killing your child or yourself, assuming that a home invasion is happening and then shooting your neighbor knocking on your door, assuming that a home invasion is happening and shooting a random black teenager that is knocking on your door seeking out help. This has happened as well. Incredibly high suicide rates in this country, specifically for men who have a higher likelihood of using a gun when they are committing suicide. It's in every aspect of American culture, and it reflects itself in every bad fucking stat point. More guns equals more gun violence. It is the most basic fact. Other countries have comparable rates of mental illness, mental health complications, and yet they don't have mass shootings. They don't have school shootings. They don't have gun violence to that same degree. Why? Because they don't have guns. That's it. So when people say it's a mental health problem, it's like, yeah, you're not wrong. We're not doing anything to solve that either, by the way. We're just using another problem in an effort to win the argument in that moment. But other countries have that issue too. People say knife crime. America has an issue with knife crime as well. Remember the story of, I forget if it were a teacher or a guard leaving the gun on the toilet and another one who left his gun in class. The way kids get treated by cops and security guards, especially black kids, tells you everything you need to know about how dangerous this will turn out if you give guns to teachers. Yes. USA has 40% more knife deaths than the UK and 30x times more gun deaths than the UK. If knives were as deadly as guns are, why the is the American military not using knives? Are these guys stupid? Oh my God. I don't understand. Why the aren't we invading Iraq with knives? Why are we invading it with weapons? It doesn't make sense. Everybody should be using fucking katanas instead. Wow, how stupid. Someone should alert the Department of Defense. America has a higher per capita knife death rate than the UK, 4 million compared to 3 million per. I don't know if America has a higher per capita knife death rate as well, but it wouldn't be shocking because we are just like an insane country. We still use knives and melee weapons law. Please, dude, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, dude, we're using knives when we, that's the primary gear that people have. Knives. Is that what's going on? I love being intentionally obtuse. I'm very smart, by the way. Yeah, that's the situation.
I know. I think we're all still processing, when the crawl came on the screen, I just keep thinking, we all think this, how many more stories do we have to report like this? I don't want us ever to become desensitized to it.
Right.
But
it happens so often here.
I thought Vice President Harris said it right. It doesn't have to be this way.
It doesn't have to be this way. And hearing that young man talk about his teacher really brings it home for me. That's a real human being there.
Yeah.
And what, we got 5
Kids are
minutes?
going back to school.
We got 5 minutes into the school year before
Yes.
summer's over, and this is a reality in American life. And does it have to be? Well, we're going to talk about that on the presidential campaign stage as well. Gun violence back in this presidential race. Both candidates were supposed to talk about the economy yesterday. Instead, they were talking about the attack in Georgia. And Robert Costa is here with the latest on what was said and what might happen now. Bob, good morning.
Good morning. Yesterday was supposed to be about kitchen table issues and courting voters in battleground states. But as you noted, outrage and revived debates over gun violence have also now been thrust into this campaign.
It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way.
Just hours after the school shooting in Georgia, Vice President Kamala Harris, while campaigning in New Hampshire, briefly scrapped her economic speech to address the tragedy and gun violence that she called an epidemic.
And it's just outrageous that every day in our country, in the United States of America, that parents have to send their children to school worried about whether or not their child will come home alive.
Former President Donald Trump weighed in too, writing on Truth Social, "Our hearts are with the victims and loved ones of those affected by the tragic event in Winder, Georgia," calling the suspect a deranged monster. Hours later, he sat down with...
I hate this because it's so cynical and gross when people will be like, oh, the 14-year-old's a deranged monster. Oh, okay, you solved the problem now. And if you go, hey, man, that's a 14-year-old, like, I feel like there's a lot more societal problems at play here. Oh, so you don't think he's a monster then? Oh, you love the 14-year-old who killed people. You want him to kill more people. It's like, dude, of course I'm not saying that, you animal. I hate this shit so much. It is literally like such a cynical way. Like, yeah, oh yeah, it's the individual's fault. It's like, bro, he's 14. It doesn't get more like not a person than that. God damn, American brains are so broken, dude. Do you not have 14-year-old relatives? Like, imagine them, okay? They're barely sentient. What are you talking about? Lacey has Obama on a stream? No, he doesn't. There's no way. Yeah, okay, good one, chat. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
With the dream of becoming a famous influencer,